दूसरा वाला भी दे दिया, हाथ दे रहे हैं। हाँ, अपना डब्बे का अंदर
distribution கூட ஒரு சிஸ்டம் கிடையாது. டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் கூட ஒரு சிஸ்டம் கிடையாது. ஆஃபீஸ் நடத்துறீங்களோ தெரியல. Okay. Then good afternoon. I think we get started. Please settle down. Abbas, I have distributed 2 sheets of paper containing data. One containing 2 tables, another giving the breakup of the... Have you got 2 separate sheets of paper, everyone? Well, there are 2, you can collect it later. Okay. Now, what I thought I wanted to say as opening statement was that we are conscious that investment must revive in this country. While the economy, in my view, has stabilized, the investment cycle has to start again. Both domestic investment and foreign investment must be encouraged. The investment cycle must start again, and that alone will lead us to high growth. Now, I have given some data about what kind of investments have been received, what kind of investments are contemplated. In the first statement, you will find that in 2012-13, we attracted FDI of 26.95 billion US dollars. In 2013-14, up to February, we have attracted 26.9 billion US dollars. So by March, it will be more than what we attracted in the previous year. And I think FDI of about $27 billion is a good performance, but we should try to do better in 2014-15. As far as public sector enterprises are concerned, I've given numbers. Numbers are available in 2012-13 only for 16 PSUs monitored by the National Manufacturing Competition Council. But for the subsequent years, it is available for 23 PSUs, which is why we have given the 2 lines there. If you take the 16 PSUs, in 2012-13, they invested 1,11,824 crore rupees. In 2013-14, it went up to 1,16,860 crore rupees. And in 2014-15, they plan to invest 1,22,838 crore rupees. If you look at 23 PSUs, you will find the number in 2014-15 goes up to 1,33,030 crore rupees. We set great store in PSU investment. Profits made by PSUs, of course, taxes are paid, dividends are declared, but a very substantial portion is reinvested as capital expenditure for expansion, for new machinery, for new technology. Public sector banks' capitalization is also a very important agenda. In 2012-13, we invested 12,517 crore. In 2013-14, we invested 14,000 crore. In 2014-15, the demand is for such a large amount of money The budget is to provide for it. The budget has provided only a modest amount so far, but the regular budget we hope can provide more money. But the requirement is about 45,528 crore rupees of additional capital for public sector banks. Some of them are being allowed to raise capital in the market. Government, of course, will put in money, but they will also raise capital in the market. In the second sheet, I've given the breakup of the public sector investment in the 23 companies. So that's only a detail. The detail that you may be interested to know, how our major public sector companies are going to invest 1,33,030 crore in the next year. Now there was another issue about inflation and how selling wheat or stocks of food grain will cool inflation. We agree. Open market sales is one way of cooling inflation. The government has, in fact, over the last 2 years, sold large quantities in the open market. The line in bold will tell you OMSS, open market sales. In 2012-13, we sold 69 lakh tons of wheat. And in 2013-14, we sold 61 lakh tons of wheat. We are willing to sell more, but there must be takers. There must be people who will buy in the market. Millers are the usual buyers, but we are willing to sell more provided the market can absorb that quantity of wheat. We have large stocks of wheat. We have used this method, and we will continue to use this method to cool down wheat prices. In fact, prices of wheat and rice have been remarkably stable over the last 2 years. Inflation is largely driven by food articles, and within food articles, as I've said once before, inflation is driven by 5 items: vegetable, fruit, milk, meat, and eggs. But we are conscious that selling food grain is one way of cooling inflation. I think I'll stop here. We'll take some questions. Sorry, no. Yes. One moment. No questions on any of these statements? Yes, Pooja. Mr. Deepak Parekh apparently did not read the statements that are released in the last press conference. Many of you have reported it, and I'm grateful. I've pointed out that subsidies are paid at the end of every quarter. A year has only got 4 quarters. We pay subsidies for 4 quarters. The 4th quarter subsidy for the previous year is paid in the 1st quarter of the current year. The 4th quarter subsidy of 2013-14 will be paid at the end of the 1st quarter of 2014-15. This is well known within the government, and I'm sure it's known to Mr. Parekh. Why Mr. Parekh pretends he does not know, I'm surprised. If he says that the 4th quarter subsidy for 2013-14 has not yet been paid and should have been paid in the 4th quarter, then what about the 4th quarter of 2012-13, which are paid in the 1st quarter of 2013-14? I thought this is simple, plain logic, which seems to have somehow escaped Mr. Parekh. I hope he will read my statement, and I hope he will not accuse us of any kind of financial jugglery. We pay for 4 quarters a year. If I pay for the last quarter in the next year's 1st quarter, then last quarter of the next year will be paid in the 1st quarter of the next year. Yes. No, I'm glad. You should ring up Mr. Parekh and tell him this. I don't know what the Reserve Bank of India will do. All I can say is that they are conscious in fact, more conscious today that their mandate is both price stability and growth. We made that clear in the budget speech. We made it clear in our discussions with the RBI, and the RBI governor has acknowledged it, that price stability and growth must be kept into account, must be taken into account while deciding policy rates. I'm sure they will keep both in mind while they decide the new policy rates.
So the BJP is consistently attacking you, during this campaign on the economic track record. In the last press conference that Yashwant Sinha did, he said you will have to be reborn, you have to be another birth to match his track record as finance minister.
Why would I want to match his record? Am I a fool to match his record? His record is 4.3 and 4.0. So why would I want to match his record?
सर आपकी सरकार ने पहले विदेशी चंदे को लेकर आम आदमी पार्टी पर सवाल उठाए। अब दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में आप ही ने उनको कहा कि भाई FCRA का कोई उल्लंघन नहीं किया इन्होंने।
No. Let's finish economics and then we'll go to the subject. I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Sir, oil ministry says that while you have made provisions for 25,000 crore, 5,000 crore is still remaining.
No. The oil minister spoke to me a couple of days ago. I told him, have the audited subsidy statement for the last quarter come. If they have come, please send it to the Department of Expenditure and we will take a look at it. As she pointed out, there is provision in the interim budget. Once the audited subsidy bill for the fourth quarter comes, we will address that issue. We will do it in the next couple of days. I'll come back to you.
सर एक हफ्ते बाद में नई लोकसभा आने वाली है और इस टाइम सभी लोग चुनाव की गर्मी में बिजी हैं और आप फाइनेंशियल इंडिकेटर्स को डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हैं, तो ये इसका क्या पर्पस हुआ इस टाइम में फाइनेंशियल इंडिकेटर्स को पब्लिकली ओपन करने का?
What do you mean financial indicators? We are planning, this is the planned investment for next year. And what is wrong in disclosing what we plan to invest next year?
नहीं सर, तुम्हें ये टाइम पे सभी लोग पॉलिटिक्स में बिजी हैं।
सभी लोग,
अपेक्षा नहीं की जा रही है।
if sabhi log is not, the elections are over in most part of the country.
Can you take some political questions?
No, we will. Let's finish this first. I said I will. Okay, I see only one last hand on this. On economics. Okay, one. Yeah, yes.
Sir, one
Yeah.
technical question. Sir, on the Jigneshwar arrest, do you think like, we waited, 9 months? And also, sir, on the Vodafone matter, what is next now? Because there is new news, the arbitration has delayed the arbitration arrest. And also the fact that...
No. All right. On the matter of FTIL, it is the investigating agency which decides whether a person should be arrested, and if so, when he should be arrested. Government has no say in the matter. This investigation is now being done by the Mumbai police, isn't it? So they have taken a decision to arrest him. I have no comment on that. On the Vodafone matter, you remember that the last decision of the cabinet was that we keep the proposal to withdraw from the conciliation offer on hold until the tax matter is heard and disposed of by the tribunal. But Vodafone wrote back saying, no, we don't want to wait for that tribunal decision. We have decided to go for arbitration. So they've issued a notice of arbitration. We will defend that notice. And now I have already proposed to Cabinet that since they have issued a fresh arbitration notice, the original offer of a non-binding conciliation should be taken to be as withdrawn. That offer is no longer there. We will defend the arbitration notice. I don't know. All right, is this over? Economics is over? Who? Yeah. No, wait a minute. I have answered this question before, but I'll answer it again. MCX is a regulated entity under the FMC. MCX SX is a regulated entity under SEBI. FTIL is a company. As far as MCX is concerned and MCX SX is concerned, The boards have been reconstituted. Independent directors have been appointed. They are under the careful watch of FMC and SEBI respectively. So there's no problem as far as MCX and MCX is concerned. Government does not directly supervise or regulate them. It is done through the statutory regulator. As far as FTIL is concerned, it's a company, and the company law will take its course. There is a registrar of companies. It is under investigation. They will take their course. But the two regulated entities are being carefully watched and monitored by the two regulators. No, let's have your follow-up on that. All right, it's over. Economic.
Now on the political context.
No, all the political economists put down their hand, and the simple economists put up their hand.
economic का ऊपर
Yeah.
economic का ऊपर है
Yeah, you think it's happening, yeah. Yeah.
The requirement of capitalization for public sector banks
Yes.
is much higher than the infusion funds provided in the budget. So do you have any plan in mind how?
I told you, infusion by government is one method of capitalization. They can raise capital in the market, and they have got some other debentures, etc., which can be converted into capital. So the total capital requirement is high. What has been provided is only a modest amount, but they will find other ways to raise capital. I've said so earlier. There are other ways to raise capital. Yes.
आपके मजबूत आर्थिक स्थिति की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन पिछले 10 सालों के दौरान डॉलर और रुपीस की जो कीमत रही है वो बहुत ही महंगी है, जबकि एक छोटा देश श्रीलंका हो या यूएई हो, उसके करेंसी की वैल्यू एक समान रूप से चली, पैरेलल चली, स्टेबल रही। सो भारतीय रुपये की ये स्थिति क्यों है?
Well, we can't get into a theoretical discussion on exchange rate, but I've heard from you a very novel thesis that a particular value means it's a strong currency and a particular value means it's a weak currency. I mean, that assumption is completely wrong. The value of a rupee is, the value of any currency is determined by relative values of different currencies. So you can't compare one currency with another. I just visited Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has a per capita income several times more than India. But the Kazakhstan currency to the dollar is 181. Indian rupee to the dollar is 60 rupees. So you can't really compare. There's no straight point-upon comparison. The value of the rupee is determined by the market. It's a price. It is determined by the market. The correct measure is the REER, the real effective exchange rate. As long as the real effective exchange rate is around 100, that reflects more or less the correct value of a currency. That's the way to look at it, not make simple comparisons between one number of one country and one number of another country. Anyway, we can't have a discussion, theoretical discussion on the subject now. Yeah, you have to wind up quickly. There are other people asking others. Yeah? See, we think, and this is just a view, we think that the rupee at about 60 to a dollar, given the REER, is more or less an accurate reflection of the true value of the currency. Yeah, okay. Over? On what? All of good. There's so many economists. Good.
ऑल इंडिया बैंक एसोसिएशन ने एक डाटा जारी किया है कि कई सारे ऐसे डिफॉल्टर हैं जो लोन लेकर लोन नहीं चुकाया।
Yeah. Yeah, I'm aware of it.
सरकार उनके खिलाफ कोई कार्रवाई करेगी, क्या करेगी?
See, what they have done is compiled a list of what, according to them, are big accounts which have become NPA. Now, I'm sure that list is more or less correct. I've asked people to check out the list and get me a copy of the list. But that is nothing unusual. At any given time, 5 years earlier, 5 years later, at any given time, X number of accounts will be NPA in the banking system. The question is, are the banks taking steps to recover the amounts? In the case of willful defaulters, are they taking stringent steps? In the case of businesses which have been caught in the business cycle, are they trying to be helpful to them so that they can recover the money in due course? Banks are doing that, and I'm meeting with the bank chairman again next week to ensure that they are recovering the NPAs strictly in accordance with the RBI guidelines. But at any point of time, there will be a certain number of NPA accounts. Yes. Okay, economics is over now. You have one. Okay, last.
Parliament is also warned that if the next government changes the RBI governor, it will not be good for the ratings. Sovereign ratings. We might get these.
Well, I have already expressed my view on the governor. I think the governor has been appointed having regard to his outstanding record. He is an outstanding academic, and his reputation and his work earlier in other organizations. The next government must respect that appointment. Okay. This is. Have you pardon? I don't know. I'm answering a question. Okay. All right. All right. Let's move to other subjects.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi was yesterday spotted in EVM enclosures in several polling booths in Amethi. Did he not violate
I don't know.
election laws?
I don't know. There is a polling officer there. There's a returning officer there. How can I say whether he violated or not by looking at the picture in the newspaper? Yes.
Sir, the BJP top brass is protesting in Banaras. Banaras में प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं कि राहुल गांधी को रोड शो का परमिशन चुनाव आयोग ने दिया, but election commission is acting with partiality and not giving permission to Mr. Narendra Modi to hold his rally in Benyabag. What is your response?
I thought the Election Commission has made a statement responding to Mr. Arun Jaitley's charge. I read that statement on the ticker. So Election Commission has made a statement. If they are not happy with the Election Commission statement, this question should be put to the Election Commission.
सर इसी से जुड़ा सवाल है। इलेक्शन कमीशन ने जिस तरह से इस बार अमित शाह ने जैसे भाषण दिए, जिस तरह से आजम खान लगातार चैलेंज कर रहे हैं इलेक्शन कमीशन की अथॉरिटी को, नरेंद्र मोदी ने भी आजमगढ़ में कहा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन बायस है, तो आपको नहीं लगता कि ये वीकेस्ट इलेक्शन कमीशन दिख रहा है इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद?
The question is it the weakest election commission?
Yes.
No, I don't agree. I think the election commission has done a tremendous job of holding elections in 7 or 8 phases already. They've done a good job. There are some aspects of the rules and regulations with which people can disagree. I have also expressed some unhappiness about some aspects. But even having regard to those aspects, I think the overall job done by the Election Commission has been a tremendous job, a splendid job.
Sir, how do you see the protest by BJP?
But sir, the issue is that the manner in which...
No, one of you, he's already asking.
This is related to this.
It's all right, we'll come back to you.
बीजेपी का जो आज प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा है इलेक्शन कमीशन को लेकर, तो उसको किस तरह से?
I have a feeling that BJP is getting a bit desperate, which is why they are making these outrageous attacks on the Election Commission. I'm told the Election Commission has accorded permission to 4 events out of 5 events proposed for Mr. Modi. They have declined permission only in 1 event. So that's a judgment call the Election Commission makes, having regard to the reports it receives from the ground. So why should the BJP take umbrage just because 1 event has been disallowed?
Sir, what we have seen in the last 4 weeks is that repeatedly the authority of the Election Commission is being challenged. And there is a growing perception that the Election Commission is not using the powers that it has to contain politicians or making all kinds of statements from Narendra Modi to Beni Prasad Verma. We have seen leaders from different political parties using language which should not be used in public sphere in a political discourse, and repeatedly warnings have been issued, no impact on people who have made promises, apologized to this commission, then again gone back to the field, made the same thing. It has appeared that the authority of Election Commission has been diminished, considering the fact that the Prime Ministerial candidate of BJP has said that, okay, file an FIR if you want against him. The authority has been challenged repeatedly of the election.
Well, I think when the prime ministerial candidate of a political party makes outrageous comments about the election commission, it says more about him rather than about the election commission. I don't think it diminishes the authority of the election commission. I think it reveals the character of the person making these accusations. The authority of the election commission, whether the authority has been exercised properly, must be measured in terms of how well the elections have been conducted, the turnout, and the number of incidents of violence or number of incidents of electoral malpractices. I think this is one election that has been, by and large, very peaceful. Very few incidents of blatant violation on election day, on polling day. And elections have taken place in all but, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 constituencies. So actually, the authority of the election commission must be measured by the outcome of the polling. These statements actually diminish the person making the statement. It doesn't diminish the election commission.
The election commission, just now a short while back, Narendra Modi and others has rhetorically said EC is not partial. I mean, it's impartial. So you can see the insinuations that are being made. Congress party has always held that constitutional authority should not be attacked. Do you still, condemn these statements, or what is your position in terms of?
I said so. I think such statements reveal more about the person making the statement rather than diminish the authority of the election commission. I think the election commission has done a splendid job. Yes, there are some areas where we would have expected them to act differently, but that doesn't mean that they have abdicated their authority or have done a poor job. In fact, overall, the people of this country will hold the election commission in high esteem and conclude that they have done a tremendous job. I'm coming to you. He's raised his hand before you.
Mr. Chidambaram, what is happening in Varanasi today on the eve of polling? Do you think this is a psychological war, not electionary?
I think it is an act of desperation. I don't know why they are desperate, but it seems to me they are getting more desperate.
There was somebody called T. N. Sheshan, you must be knowing very well. If you give 100 marks to him, how many marks do you give to
I am not a rating agency.
As a politician, can you?
No, our politicians don't indulge in rating. I'm coming to you.
That victory or defeat for NDA would be attributed to Modi leadership. Does the same thing hold?
Well, I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Victory or defeat for NDA would be attributed to Narendra Modi leadership. Would the same thing hold good for Rahul Gandhi, as he has been front runner, lead campaigner for Congress? Would any victory or defeat of Congress would be the litmus test
No,
of Rahul Gandhi?
who made, you're quoting somebody in the first statement. Your view.
Yes, Modi.
That is your view.
No,
Ah.
I'm saying any victory or defeat for NDA would be defeat of victory attributed to Modi.
Who said that? Who said that?
That is not question. That is perception.
That is your perception. Okay, it's all right. If you have a perception on the first part of your question, you can have your own perception on the second part of your question. Yeah. Okay. I'm coming to you. Yeah.
Do you foresee the possibility of UPA 3?
Where, man?
Do you foresee the possibility of UPA 3 after the fag end of this election?
You see, all right, okay.
From this podium, we have heard a number of times about the person. What is the source of your confidence? Are some allies, some regional parties in touch with you right now as elections are approaching its end? Is there a reason for you to be so confident?
You see,
Can Narendra Modi should be kept out? Because
no, I think each one is answering each other's question. Every party goes into an election, every candidate goes into an election with the confidence and expectation that the party will win or the candidate will win. Elections are not over. We still have polling to take place in about, 40, 50 constituencies. We maintain that we will be able to win this election and form the government. Others, I'm sure, maintain the same thing. What will be the outcome of the election cannot be predicted today. You should ask this question sometime after 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. on the 16th of May, when things will become clear. But at this stage, I'm absolutely clear in my mind, all these predictions are completely premature. You will have to wait for the counting day. And I think the Congress party has a very good chance of forming the next government with some alliance parties. Yes. The gentleman and then the lady.
अमेठी और रायबरेली में जिस तरीके से प्रचार किया प्रियंका गांधी ने एक नई इमेज बनी थी उनकी, अब नई भूमिका पार्टी में उनकी कैसे होगी आगे?
No, that I cannot answer. That is the decision which Ms. Priyanka Gandhi has to take and the party will take. But I think she put up a spirited campaign in Amethi and Raebareli, and I think that campaign will be reflected. The success of that campaign will be reflected when the counting is over in Amethi and Raebareli. We will win both seats. Yes, Annapurna.
So there is a view in some section of people that elections have been stretched a bit too long. You have also complained about the government coming to a standstill, not functioning as it should during the elections. Do you think that these elections could be completed in a little less time than
I would like elections to be compressed in a shorter span of time. I think it's possible to complete the elections in about 3 to 4 weeks. I think they've stretched it now from April 10 to May 13. And if you count nomination for April 10, it stretches too far. I think it's possible to do it in about 3 to 4 weeks with better communication, better transportation. It's possible to do it in 3 to 4 weeks. But that's simply a very subjective, very personal view. It's for the Election Commission to take a call. But I sincerely hope that future elections, because there is better communication, better transport, better network, we should be able to complete it in 3 to 4 weeks. Yes.
41 सीट्स के लिए सिर्फ इलेक्शन बचा है।
I don't know. How many remain? 41. Okay.
किस राज्य में कांग्रेस का परफॉर्मेंस सबसे अच्छा होगा?
What?
Which state will be the
in the state level, the Congress.
How can I don't know. I am not monitoring. I'm not monitoring the performance in every state, but I sincerely hope we will do well in every state.
You must be getting feedback from the party.
No. These are all anecdotal. Just as you write on anecdotal information, I can't give an official answer based on anecdotal information.
1989, Rajiv Gandhi, even though getting 189 seats, did not try to form a government. Last time round in 2009, you got 206 and not, and still you were able to form the government. Do you believe now, given the wake of the situation, that the Congress will get a lesser mandate than 206? It is a mandate for the Congress to be in opposition, and you follow Rajiv Gandhi's principle of staying in the opposition and being a constructive opposition, or try all lines to stop and...
No, I think the context is very different. We now have, as I said, this is not one national election. This is actually a collection of 28 state elections. I think the context has changed between 1989 and 2014. We'll have to see the final tally of every party. And we'll have to find a way to form a stable government. This country cannot afford to go to election every 3 months. Whoever is in a position to form a stable government must discharge that responsibility. You can't run away from that responsibility. If Congress is in a position to form a stable government under its leadership, I think it should accept that responsibility, and I'm confident it will accept that responsibility. I'll come back to you unless there's anyone else. Who else? Yes, Javed.
There may be 500 seats elections have been held. Do you agree that अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं?
I've always believed that tomorrow will be better than today. In fact, that is the purpose of life, isn't it? You hope that the future will be better. And I have no doubt in my mind, if the Congress is able to form a government, the better days will come. Yes, okay, this lady and the last one. Yeah.
So there's a concern, despite repeated from the Supreme Court, 22 ministers have not vacated their official homes.
This is the same answer I gave. At any given time, at any year, go back to 1989, 1979, 1969. At any given time, a certain number of ministers will not vacate their houses. This is so for the Delhi government of that 49-day wonder Delhi government also. They have not vacated their houses. They were in office for 49 days. They're hanging on to their houses for 89 days. I'm not a member of parliament. I'm not a member of parliament. This question should be put to her. I am not a member of parliament. What? Please be absolutely sure in your mind that I will vacate my official house immediately after the results of the election are out. No. What has active politics got to do with occupying an official house here?
Without having been a member of parliament, also you can become minister.
All I can tell you is the government has not been formed. Who will form the government will be known after May 16, and I am not a member of parliament.
So how you are ruling out and how you will be minister?
I am not a member of parliament, I'm saying.
Any advice to your successor in the finance ministry?
Oh, follow the agenda that I've laid out in the interim budget. There's a 10-point agenda. I sincerely hope and pray that they will not swerve from that agenda. Please read the interim budget speech. It lays out a 10-point agenda for economic stability and growth. And I sincerely hope whoever forms the next government can add to the agenda, but should not subtract from that agenda. Last question. Yeah.
In the end, now that 501 seats are already gone to polls, can you say today that Congress is going to be the single largest party?
No, I don't make predictions.
You're not sure?
I don't. You are putting words in my mouth. I said I don't make predictions about the election outcome. All I'm saying is every party goes into an election with expectation it will win and form the government. Our expectation is we will win and we will form the government. And I think the Congress, as I answered earlier, has a very good chance of forming the next government under its leadership.
Sir, any unfinished agenda before you really...
There'll always be an unfinished agenda. I mean, how can you say that an agenda will be completed? There will always be things which have to be done every day.
Sir, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rate yourself as a financial minister? Sir, related question.
I told you, I'm not a rating agency. How can I rate myself?
Sir, there was a time when your budget was called the dream budget. Would you say that your last budget that you presented did not keep up with that record?
The context is different. The 1997-98 budget was presented under very different circumstances. The 2014-15 interim budget was presented when there's a global slowdown. The period after 2008 is being described by every economist as the Great Recession. As opposed to the Great Depression, this is only one notch below. They are describing it as a Great Recession. Only 2 days ago, the OECD has lowered global growth from 3.6% to 3.4%. The world has still not recovered. It is in that context that we presented a budget to stabilize India's economy. India's economy has been substantially stabilized. I think anyone I've spoken to anywhere in the world acknowledges that India's economy has been stabilized. And if you implement the agenda that has been laid down in 2014-15 budget and add to whatever you want to do, the economy will be further stabilized and we will be on the path to growth. You cannot compare 1997-98 with 2014-15. Okay, thank you very much. What? Where did you come from suddenly? Last. Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yes, just a moment, Chetna. Yes.
You say that the steps that you've taken has stabilized the economy, but we have also seen a market rally in the past 1 month, and Narendra Modi is claiming his expectation that he will become the Prime Minister, which is actually helping the rupee, the tally the rupee, and also the tally.
I answered it last time. If the BJP claims that every rise is attributed to Mr. Modi, then every dip must also be attributed to Mr. Modi. Okay, thank you.
कांग्रेस पार्टी कहती है भैया हमारी तो डीएनए हिंदुस्तान की है। कांग्रेस पार्टी कहती है भैया हमारी तो डीएनए हिंदुस्तान की है।